on DeepMind's artificial intelligence system. As you know, AlphaZero taught itself to play chess and has come to conclusions about our beloved board game that we humans can learn a lot from. Today's video will examine how well AlphaZero understands positional play. It's all gonna be about long-term strategic plans, maneuvers, and even positional sacrifices. Are you ready for it? Let's begin. This is yet another game of AlphaZero against Stockfish 8 from one of their matches. AlphaZero plays d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, b6, the Queen's Indian defense. g3 is a classical setup against the Queen's Indian. I'm not going to explain much about the opening stage. I want to highlight the critical moments and also to focus on a comparison on how AlphaZero's play compares to other engines and to the human way of playing chess. So I'm going to stop very soon after knight a6, rook fd1. From here on, we are going to focus on the game move by move. If you want to look at the opening stage slower, then make sure to check out the entire game. I will try to link it in the description if I can find it online. So, rook fd1. What you can see in this position is that white is putting a lot of pressure on the d5 pawn. That is our target. Already some possible threats are in the air. D takes c5. That would open up the d5 for the rook, and three pieces of white are attacking the d5 pawn. This g2 bishop 2 could join the attack, as well as a potential pin after d takes e5, knight takes e4, and if the queen stays on d8, that would be a piece up for white. So lots of things are going on already in this moment with this pressure on the d file. Therefore, black plays c4, queen c2, we gotta move the queen, knight b4, and queen c1, queen d7, and here comes a typical AlphaZero move, a flank pawn move, h4. AlphaZero, just like Ginger GM Simon Williams, loves Harry the h-pawn. Rook a c8, a3. We gotta chase away this knight because it's taking away important squares from white. Knight takes c3 was included first, and then Stockfish moves the knight back to c6. Queen b1. I just want to draw a little triangle. The queen started out on d1, went to b3, came back to c2, went to c1, and now to b1. Why, you might wonder? Well, remember that we were focusing on the d5 pawn? It is still our target. Believe me, it is still our target. This b1 queen will be very useful a couple of moves later. Rook c e8 and rook e1. This is a prophylactic move since black has just moved the rook to the e file, which is a semi-open file for black. It puts pressure on the e2 pawn, and white is now ready to defend this pawn. It wasn't hanging yet, but prophylaxis is important in chess, and AlphaZero knows it, even though it was never taught. It had to learn it by itself. And yes, I'm gonna call it a nit. I know the pronoun thing was a discussion in my previous video. I talked to the authors of Game Changer, the book that has just been released about AlphaZero, and they said that we gotta stick to it, even though he is tempting to. So, it. Knight a5. And it is clear that black is aiming to play on the queen side. You see that black has a pawn majority on the queen side. It's 4 versus 3. Now what shall I do? Well, play on the flank where it has more active pieces, that is the king side. So AlphaZero goes knight g5. Threatening mate in 1 is always cool. f5. Oh well, Stockfish has realized that there was a mate threat. Do you think that this is a problem? That now there's no mate on h7? What is our knight doing on g5? Well, no, every move has its consequences. So the pawn push f5, yes, it prevents the mate on h7, but it weakens the e5 square. So AlphaZero comes back immediately to f3 and is pointing out that the e5 square has now become a weakness. There's no pawn that can protect the e5 square. As you can see, both the d and the f pawns have been pushed, which means that the e5 square is an outpost for white's pieces. That is a very important strategic term, an outpost. Black plays bishop f6 in order to meet knight e5 with bishop takes e5. But AlphaZero is not in a hurry occupying the outpost on e5. It plays rook to a2. Yes, this is a rook maneuver, and a very nice one, because the rook on a1 was not doing anything. And the queen on b1, well, we don't know why yet, but it's cool on b1. So white doesn't want to move the queen away from b1, but without moving the queen, how can you activate the rook? This is the way. Rook a2, and then the rook can come to the b file. Where on the b file? Well, maybe to b5, maybe to attack the d5 pawn. Remember that it is our target. It doesn't look like a big target at the moment, but believe me, in the future, you're gonna see. Rook a2, h6, protecting the g5 square, just in case, and now a4, expanding a little further on the queen side. Stockfish plays queen e6, and according to Stockfish 8, this position is about 0, 0, 0. I analyzed the game with Stockfish 8 because this game was played by Stockfish 8, so I am aware of the new versions of Stockfish and I have them. But this game was played by Stockfish 8 because back then that was the version that was the newest, the best version of Stockfish at the time of the match. So I did analyze this with Stockfish 8 to contrast what Stockfish 8 thinks about these positions and how AlphaZero plays instead of Stockfish and the moves that Stockfish suggests. So in this position, Stockfish thinks it's just equal and it doesn't really come up with any concrete plan. Certainly not with this plan, king to h2. This move, yes, it appears on the list of Stockfish 8, but it's nowhere near the top choices. And basically, king h2 is a very mysterious move. Like, why would you want your king on h2, right? What's the purpose? Soon we're gonna figure it out. Bishop to c8. The position is very closed. There's only one semi-open file for black, that is the e file, and the semi-open file for white, that is the b file. So it's not easy to do anything. That's why there's time for lengthy maneuvers, such as king h2, preparing for, ta-dam, ready for it? Rook to h1. Yes, this was the master plan. King to h2, just so that we can hide our rook on h1. What's the plan? Don't ask me. Actually, I know, but I'm not gonna tell you yet. Wait for it. Knight to c6, and now h5. Here we finally start understanding the brilliancy behind AlphaZero's moves. If black plays queen f7 now, attacking the h5 pawn, which is kind of weak on h5, isn't it weak? White can simply play bishop d6, because this pawn, even though it's captured with a check, it does not matter. We're gonna move the king, and now both the queen and the rook are hanging at the same time. White is winning material. Okay, cool, Anna, but what if black plays, instead of queen takes h5, a move that prevents the capture of the rook, such as bishop to e7? In that case, AlphaZero would have taken on e7, rook takes e7, and now knight to h4, heading toward the g6 square. If the pawn is captured, cool, there's another hanging pawn, and the more important one than the h-pawn. This move is winning a piece and the game. If, instead of bishop e7, black plays knight to e7, remember, every move has its drawbacks, so every move has a consequence. In this case, the knight used to protect the a5 square, and since it's not on c6 anymore, white can play a5, opening up the b and a files for its heavy pieces. B takes a5, rook takes a5, queen takes h5 check. I'm just analyzing a line that could have been played just to demonstrate how dangerous this